Welcome back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. Oh man, fresh off the Royal Rumble, right? That was an interesting one, 24 hours or so ago. You can see my interview, well, you can see my rants on that already on YouTube. But anyway, let's not talk about that because we've got an important guest. And when I say big guest, I mean it metaphorically as well as, this guy is big in many senses. We're going to be talking a lot of stuff with this man. It is Big Kon himself. Connor, how are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing good. Thank you for having me, man. I'm excited about this.
Ah man, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. And just for these people, the guys out there, we were meant to do this about a week or so ago. We both had the same illness, which was
Yeah,
quite weird. We both had a chest infection, which
yeah.
prevented us from doing this sooner. But hey, look, we're here now, and I'm so happy to be talking to you. So thanks for
We're
your time.
healthy. We both
Um,
can do.
yeah. It's right. We both couldn't do it the other week. Look, I just mentioned, and I just thought it'd be right to start with it. At the time of recording, obviously, we just removed from the 20, less than 24 hours that finished from the Royal Rumble. You've obviously been in the WWE and done that. Um, for Royal Rumbles, what's that like? Because I mean, last night it felt, for me personally, and again, this is my view, not necessarily you don't have to agree or disagree. It was very, very rushed from it was like they were literally hitting the ring and then the 10 timer was going off for the next. But Royal Rumbles, are they difficult to plan?
So that's a great question. They're not the easiest. It all depends on time given in the ring and,
Yeah.
when you can go over certain things, certain spots. I know it's not the easiest thing to do, but it is a bit rushed because you are on a time limit and you've got to know basically every damn thing that's going on because you only got X amount of minutes before the next thing happens. And usually or generally, there's spots that are planned prior to this. Now,
Mm.
if you miss those spots, you're shit out of luck. So I think a lot of that stuff, especially it being one of the bigger pay-per-views, like everything has to be spot on and everything's going to feel rushed. Even to the talent, it's going to feel rushed.
Mm. Yeah, it does. I mean, it felt like last night they were just getting into the ring and then the timer was going off again to the next
Yeah.
person to come out. I mean, Jey Uso was literally just running it back because he was doing it, and then the timer went off and then someone else came out, which was crazy. We'll get to all the WWE stuff in a minute though, and I want to go back because obviously you've done some time in CCW, you won tag team gold there. But what people probably may not remember and of you is you were, because obviously you've done a run in TNA fairly recently, and we'll get into that in a minute. But you were in TNA way back when pretty much when the inception started. You had some matches with Jeff Jarrett, you had some matches with Monty Brown. Talk about that time, and was there any sort of interest in TNA at that time when you was in there?
So I live in Florida, and
Yeah,
during that duration, TNA was based out of Orlando area.
it was the Asylum, wasn't it? Was it in the Asylum at that point?
I can't quite remember,
Mm.
old timer thinking, I don't know.
I know that feeling.
But but yeah, at that time, gosh, man, I was real young. I was hungry, and I'd reached out to a gentleman by the name of Bill Behrens at that time.
Mhm.
He was basically TR.
Yeah.
And, they brought me in for enhancement stuff. I had already started trying to figure out who my character was going to be at that time during my beginning years. And I went there. I met a lot of people who I still stay in contact with today. And it was an interesting setting because everybody there wanted the best for TNA. And I remember I was wrestling Jeff Jarrett, and I believe that was a simple build up for Jeff Jarrett versus Jeff Hardy, if I'm not mistaken. And it was a ladder match, and if I'm not, I'm pretty positive, about 95% positive that was building up for their first ever pay per view.
Mhm.
So for me to be in a spot like that in the ring with Jeff Jarrett for the main event, to help build their story, I mean, I was on cloud nine. I had Red Rooster walking around, Terry Taylor. I was like,
Yeah.
him growing up, I was like, this is amazing. Dutch Mantel walking around, being bitter, telling everyone to shut the hell up. Like it was just awesome. I was like, oh, this is what it's all about.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I can imagine it was great. Dutch's, I mean, I've seen some of Dutch's stuff and I've heard a
Oh,
lot because I will listen to a lot of interviews, especially with Jim Cornette, funnily enough, because
yeah.
him and Dutch rode around together quite a lot. And
Oh,
some of the stories
to be in that car, I can only imagine.
that could have been incredible moments. So you
Yeah,
obviously you've done that. And then you went to Deep South for a period of time and you
yeah.
wrestled the who's who in a lot of cases. Down there. But then, and again, maybe unbeknownst to some people, WWE brought back ECW for better or for worse, depending on who you talk to in that time. But they run a lot of house shows. Now, you corrected me off air actually when I asked who you were taking. When I had written down someone who I thought you took on, but it wasn't
Sure.
correct. But again, was that kind of like Deep South? They were looking at people to bring up to the ECW. How was it working for you down there?
So Deep South was interesting. So
Mm,
during that time, it was Jody Hamilton,
yeah.
Bill DeMott, Dave Taylor, and eventually Dr. Tom Pritchard came in.
Mm,
Um, but it felt like you were on an island in Deep South. Like there wasn't a lot of talk, with the office or anything like that. Every now and then they'd bring in like William Regal or a Fit Finley to roll around with the kids, Dean Malenko, just to kind of see what's down here. But there never felt like there was like a connection with Deep South and WWE, even though WWE was paying you, during
mm.
that time. And you would always go to TVs when they were in Atlanta. But the connection never really, I don't know, it was weird. It just didn't feel like, it really honestly didn't feel like you were going to get out of there, to be honest.
Mm.
But then you saw guys like Kali come in, and then he got out of there. Then the Miz,
Yeah.
Kofi,
Mm.
so I think it was just kind of it was a feeding territory. Like we just sat there, and if the time was right, they would bring you in. Like Gallows. He was the imposter king.
He was, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he used to sit there for several weeks going over every movement that Kane did.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we would work with him to help him. So that was kind of how that felt in Deep South.
Mm.
It was a wild territory, that's for sure.
And then obviously, I say the ECW stuff come about as well. So you went on and done some ECW
Yep.
bits and pieces. I believe it's sometimes even the ECW SmackDown sort of dark bits you were doing as well. That at some point you got that option, but then you took some time away, which was great. You took some time away, and then you come back. Now, obviously, when things come back, things have changed slightly. Now we're in the black and gold, probably still the best NXT
Yeah,
version
yeah, yeah.
to this day, and you're
I
back
agree.
on. Yeah, no, no, definitely. I spoke to many people, even Matt Raywald, who was at TNA, still is at TNA, doing a great job commentary at
Yes.
the time. I spoke to him a year or two back about this, and because I mentioned at the time that when I was spoken to Matt that the NXT roster then was a bit like the TNA roster of 2, 3 years ago, the hunger, the wanting to excel, which we'll get
Oh yeah.
into. Yeah, lucky enough, it's reaping the rewards now, which we'll talk about in a minute. But you got put in the Ascension. Now, the Ascension initial Ascension, there was about 4 or 5 people in it. How did that initial group, come together?
Okay. Well, this is interesting. It's pretty funny. So I was doing NXT season 5, and I
Yes.
got voted off.
Mhm.
Um, of course, when you get voted off, you have like rejection, and nobody likes rejection. They never forewarned you if you were going to lose. Like it
Mhm.
literally happened in that moment.
Oh,
So
really?
when you got X'd out, you had no clue. And so I was devastated. I was pissed off. I was embarrassed. Um, and later that night, Bill DeMott gave me a call and he said, "Hey, listen, we have an idea for you. When you get back here," he goes, "I want to talk to you." I
Mhm.
was like, "Oh, okay. All right, cool. Well, that's cool." Like, I mean, for the moment that I was in mentally at that point. So, like,
Yeah.
yes, sir, I'll be in tomorrow. Not a problem. So I flew in, walked in, and Bill and the dream, Dusty was sitting there, and they're like, "We got this great idea. We're gonna put you guys together." And at the time, it was Orlando,
Yeah.
Cologne,
Mhm.
Shaul Guerrero,
Mhm.
uh, Tom Latimer, myself, and Ricardo. And I looked at all this, and I'm standing there, and I'm like looking at this entire setup, and I'm like, well, this is made to fail. Like I was like, why don't you just future endeavor us now? Like I'm like how does this even mesh? It just doesn't even look right to me. But it ended up working out pretty good. And it kind of took on its own form. It had multiple forms to where eventually it got to the product. I like to think of when it was polished and finished would have been, for me at least, in my opinion, and I'm sure Vic would probably feel the same way, would have been at the NXT Black and Gold run.
Yeah.
That's when we felt we were who we were.
Yeah, definitely so. You talked about the NXT seasons. Am I right in thinking you had two? You were Alberto Del Rio was your mentor in one of them,
Yeah.
and Vladimir Kozlov was the other one. Was that right?
Oleg. Yep.
That was right. I was right with that, right?
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
that, because obviously they say mentors. Do you actually get to spend time with them, or is it just here it is, this is what's going on?
Man.
Cool.
Oh, so I had already known Oleg since Deep South.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I had known him for quite some time, so it was weird to even think of him as a mentor, but it looked good for TV.
Yeah,
As far as Dose went, like I had never met him, I just knew that I clicked with him.
yeah.
So he's a man's man, believe it or not. Like he's a man, and that's kind of like what I appreciate. I don't want nobody that's can't save what they believe in or
Mm.
stand up for what they believe in because they're afraid of walking on eggshells, where he was nothing like that. And I love that about Dose. So, and Vlad was the same way. Like those were two really good pros to have, to be honest, when it came to a reflection of what I wanted to be. It worked.
Yeah, no, it did. I vaguely remember it because I remember when NXT was doing this sort of stuff at the time, which, it was good. But you also managed to wrestle, well, at least in tag, the American Dragon. Brian Danielson was a part of that season with Alberto. It was, I think he was on it, let's say a week or two later, you teamed with Del Rio and it was against Daniel Bryan at the time. And his,
Yes, I didn't even remember that until you said it. I had, I,
yeah, I'm just trying to think. I'm just trying to scroll through my. Derek Bateman was Daniel
that
Bryan's
yes, yes, it was
protege.
him and Bateman. Yep.
Yes, and you wrestled. I think you actually beat them, actually, funnily enough, which was good. Obviously good for you and Alberto. But like I said, we got that. We get to that. We get to the Ascension, the big
Yeah.
group, and then, as you say, it then goes into you and Vic, which is where we all really know
Oh
where
man.
the Ascension took off.
It
With you
went
and
into
Vic.
so many directions. Like it would have been hard to like even fathom that it would have turned out the way it did. So,
Mm.
you know, I'll tell you a funny story. I'm sure a lot of people have heard this story because I've talked about it, many a times, and it's like it reflects on me like it was just yesterday, believe it or not. But I remember that Ricardo was out in LA. I believe it was
Mhm.
definitely the West Coast. He was quote unquote the leader of this group, and which was, he's got such a great mind for things, and he texted me that morning. It was promo day back at FCW, and he said, "Hey, listen, today's promo day. I'm not going to be there." He goes, "Talk about the Ascension and what it means to you." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." So I texted everybody in a group chat and I said, "Hey, everybody, let's wear black. It looks like we're business people." Because when I think about, Ricardo or Dose at that time, like they always look professional, right?
Yeah.
So that was my mindset, was look professional. And we all wore black. We all went in that day. And then I had this weird vision of like, let's, there's four posts. So what if we had two in the back, put the girl in the front, and I'll kind of like be off kind of in the middle, but towards like off camera a little bit. On camera, but not like where I'm just towering over Shaul or I'm blocking the guys.
Mm.
And so we ended up cutting this promo, which you can find it on YouTube. It's out there. And it was just one-liners. That's all we did. Was just one-liners. And then Shaw ended up with "We are the Ascension and we will rise." When we got done, Dream comes walking out and he's like, "I need y'all to come in here really quick." And I was like, "Oh shit, we really screwed up, man. Oh man, that was probably terrible." So we walked in there and he's like, "I want you all to look at this." And so they played it back and we're watching it in there. And he goes, "Connell, baby, what do you see?" And I said, "I see about 4 people are about to lose their job." And he goes, that he was actually laughing when I said, he goes, "No, baby, I see vampires." And I was like, "Vampires?" And then Shaw was like, "Oh yeah, like True Blood." And he's like, "Yeah, like True Blood." Because he Dream loved watching movies. He loves listening to lyrics on songs. That's where he got a lot of his stuff from, his information for promos or anything like that, And I didn't know anything about what the hell True Blood was. Like, I didn't know. I don't watch TV that much. And then Shaw chimed in, and then she kind of had to explain everything to all of us because none of us really knew.
No.
So that kind of brought that form on with that Ascension. Now, fast forward a little bit, I ended up breaking my back. I was out for 11 months. During
Mm.
that duration, Orlando got called up to the main roster. Shaw ended up wanting to do singles at that time, which only left at that time. It would have been Tom Latimer, Brown,
Yeah.
um, Kenneth Cameron, as he was called then.
Yes.
He ran with that thing by himself while I was injured. So then when I came back, then now it just turned into a tag team with him and I.
Mm.
Um, that was actually doing really good. And
Yeah.
then he got into a little bit of legal issues. We don't have to go into all that,
No.
but
No. No.
he ended up getting future endeavored, which really sucked because he's like my brother. And that was a tough shot to me. And then Vic came in, and Vic, I've always said this, like, he's a technical genius, and
Yeah.
he was the last wrestler to come out of the dungeon, the actual
Mm.
dungeon. So,
Yeah.
and then it just kind of took into form. One day we're sitting there, we're doing the goth gimmick, Vic and I. Next thing you know, they want to give us a little grittier, raw look. They played our new song. I was like, "Holy shit, this is awesome!" We love heavy metal. It just fit, and then they just let us do us, and chainmail and shaved heads, and here we go. We're off to the races. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was
Yes.
cool. It was a lot that happened during 2 years with the Ascension.
Just a bit, just a bit. Just a side note on Tom Latimer. He's a good friend of the show, former NWA champion. When you ever see him again, and if you ever get an opportunity, buy him a Galaxy chocolate. That is his favorite. It's a UK
Is
thing.
it?
It is, yeah. Galaxy chocolate. If you ever see him, buy him some of that. When he comes back over here, I think he's doing a tour. I'm hoping to go and meet up with him, and yeah, I'll have to
Oh
buy him
my!
some Galaxy chocolate. He's yeah,
He loves food.
he
You wouldn't
does.
think you wouldn't think it when you look at him.
No, he's chiseled out of stone. You wouldn't think like it's
Yeah.
like, right. You wouldn't think, and he's got one of the best tans in wrestling. I know
Oh,
that
does
much.
he? I know.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
jealous.
ridiculous. He's absolutely ridiculous. But yes, you moved to with Vic, and then, as you say, it kind of hit his own. And I think it was November the 10th, 2013, if memory serves me correct. No, remember, yeah, November the 10th, you defeat the tag team of Corey Graves and who we now know really is Pac to
Yeah.
become the NXT tag team. Goes Adrian Neville, of course, in the
Yes.
WWE. When they tell you that moment, hey, look, we're putting the straps on you,
Mhm.
does that, is it like, is there like excitement? Is there nervous? Is like shit, now we're champion? How does it how do you process that?
Well, so during that time, Vic and I were locker room leaders.
Mm,
So we always felt like we always, had something to prove, or we had to be examples. I think if anything, like that would have been more of a time where when they said, "Hey, we want to put these belts on you now," it was a relief for him and I because it's like, okay, now you trust us, you know. there was a period there where Vic and I, like, we busted our asses. Like, when I say busted our asses, I mean we revamped that tag team department when it first started. You
Mm.
know, the Vaudevillains, you
Yeah.
know, you had Enzo and Cass. I mean, there was a lot of good teams.
American Alpha, I
Dash
think
and
they were part of it.
Dawson, like, I
Yeah.
mean, so if you go back and if you watch when we first started wrestling in tag teams on the black and gold brand, you'll see that we were working a lot of enhancement guys or people that
Mm.
it wasn't because um, they felt that we needed that. We didn't have tag teams established at that point.
No. Mm.
So it was our job, mine and Vic's job, to work with them, help them with move sets, anything that they could do to help prime them for their careers, you know. And I like to think that we did a pretty damn good job because I think I feel that if you go back in that time, there was a lot of good tag teams that we had, and I would put that tag team division, you know, the Lucha Dragons, like I would put that up against any tag team division to this day. To be honest with you,
Mm.
that's just how I feel. You know, there was a lot of characters. It was colorful, but everybody made their stuff look legit, and everybody was very hungry and passionate.
But if you look at it in general, you had everyone had like a different character. You had
Yep.
Enzo and Cass, microphone skills unbelievable in Enzo,
Oof.
in terms of what
Yeah.
he, that guy can cut a promo, right? And I think he had this big book, didn't he, not of promos and whatnot written down. But I think what sort of you had all of that, but I think what the main bit edited was the fact that when the bell went off, you could all go as well
Yes.
in different ways, right?
Yes.
Because
There was all
sometimes you
these
get
different
that.
styles.
Yeah, exactly my point,
Yeah.
right? A lot of different styles. I mean, you've got yourself, the big guy, you got the Vic, the technical brilliance. You had Kaz, 7 foot tall. Enzo was this walking, I always call him a nutcase because he was crazy, but he was
Oh
great
yeah.
in a
Oh,
great
we
way.
love Enzo.
Yeah, in a great way. Then you had the likes of American Alpha, Gabriel, and
Yes.
that incredible in terms of
Yes.
mat-based wrestling and whatnot else. Vaudevillains, the comedic style, but when you got in the ring,
It was nothing.
very yeah, exactly. Very villainous, right? They were great. So anyway, you do all that, and then you start to get a little bit of the main roster call up comes in. You beat Miz and Mizdow or
Yeah.
Sandow, depending on which was great.
Yeah.
You go to the Royal Rumble that year. New Age Outlaws.
That was in Philadelphia, I believe.
Yes, that was. And how was that though? Wrestling because those guys. I mean, listen, when I grew up, those were the people. That was New Age Outlaws. It was Road Dogg. Billy Gunn. Does that guy ever age?
No, he found the fountain of youth. He won't tell nobody where it's at. He looks great.
It was.
He's like, the older he gets, the better he looks. It's like, what the hell? You know?
Don't know what stuff that he uses or what he does. He's incredible. But when you face them and you pick up the victory though, like is that kind of for me? You beat this legendary tag team at a legendary pay-per-view as well.
Yeah.
When you do that, is there a sort of thing like okay, we're kind of off at the races here. We're gonna, how did WWE view the tag teams? I always thought NXT kind of revitalized tag team wrestling in WWE with all the guys that you got,
Yeah.
but it still felt like it was missing on the main roster.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I think so. When you go back, at least to that night that I can recall, first off, the whole story leading up to that was amazing. You know, I know everyone's got different views and different feelings on it, but you know, I try to explain to people the moral of the story and all that was that here are these two guys that they're bringing up that they trust with these legends. And
Mm,
that's the bottom line when it comes to anything like that. Like, can I put these guys out there with these guys and make them look good, and trust them on my live television?
mm.
So it was a compliment to do that and to lead all the way into the story with Billy Gunn and Road Dogg. I mean, let's be honest. Like, I was in the ring when they were walking out, like, "Oh, you didn't know?" Like, I'm sitting there just rehearsing it in the ring, praying the camera doesn't pick it up because I'm all excited and giddy about it, you know. And I think too, like, Road Dogg had taken a big liking to us. I met Road Dogg back in my first stints in TNA when he was doing 3 Live Crew.
Mm,
He was a part of that. And so for me, like, to be able to be in the ring with an Armstrong and to be in there with, who coached me, Billy Gunn, over at FCW and NXT. I mean, it was an honor, and I remember going over that night thinking to myself, like, damn, this feels good. Like, this was great. First off, they wanted to put us over, which was awesome, and to have that kind of quote unquote passing of the torch, in that moment, at least, it was a really good feeling. I felt like I was on cloud nine. I felt great, to be honest with you. And those guys, they're just like, yeah, whatever, whatever we can do to help you guys get over or try to help you, like, whatever. But it was like to be in the ring with those icons, like, and to have that moment and share it, like, it was great.
Yeah, it must have been. I mean, and it's good because sometimes you get legends that come back and go, "Well, I'm only going to come back if I'm winning." That's the
Yeah.
whole. The fact that they wanted to say, "No, we understand that this is the team that you're kind of putting your money behind, wanting to get some momentum going in. Let's do it." How did the call up happen? Who told you were going up to the main roster?
Oh man, that's a great question. That's a damn. So I remember one day I was at the PC. I used to get there pretty early because I'd go work out there and do cardio. I was usually the first one always in there.
Mm.
Yeah, it's like I'm the first one in there. I'm the first one to leave. Yeah, I wasn't that guy. But yeah, I would get there, and I remember when I was working out, I heard Dream yelling in the hallway, like he was really upset, and I didn't understand. And he called me in, and he's sitting there walking down the hallway, and he's pissed off, and he was like, you guys are getting called up. I was like, man, you'd think you'd be happy after being with us for 30 years, But he was like, he's like, they're ruining the Ascension. And I'm like, well, what do you mean they're ruining it? He's like, that's not what we've been working on. He goes, Connor, listen, he goes, there's one thing I want you to do. They're going to start comparing you to the Road Warriors, and they're going to start comparing you to all these big demolition teams. And he's like, what you got to do is you need to go out there and you need to do an interview, and you need to make sure that people understand that there's only one Road Warriors, there's only one demolition, there's only one Powers of Pain, and there's only going to be one Ascension. And, you hear that and it's like, oh, that sounds all great and all, but then you're walking on eggshells, a little nervous, and you don't want to, stir the pot, you're just happy that you're even being considered at this point. So, but that's how it all started. He started saying we're going to be Egyptians and all this craziness. And I didn't understand shit. I was like, damn, you think you just happy that we're leaving this damn place and you're going to have two lockers open up so you can get two new, fresh, young talent in there, So
I couldn't imagine you as Egyptians.
that was just, him venting and,
yeah.
Dream is passionate.
I can imagine he was. Bless him. That was. I just got this vision in the head of you guys walking out with Egyptian music. It just doesn't work.
Oh my goodness,
it doesn't work.
I'd have gotten over better.
Don't know nowadays. Maybe with what we see. But the question I had, and it still bugs me to this day, and it bugs me even more to this day because the guy writing this stuff is the guy that used to write NXT. So when he was down, I'm not going to criticize him too much, but like what bugged me initially was when NXT guys got called up, there was you could probably count on your hands the amount of people that got called up that they kind of they kind of looked like they had a plan for, that you could foresee something. But there was many, and still to this day, it happens. They get called up. They do a little bit here and there. They win a couple of matches. This, and then they're on main event, and then you don't really hear from them again. And it just frustrates me because when I always think like, yes, call them up, but call them up with a purpose and with a direction where you can see them in. Did you have a direction, or was it just kind of what's it?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there wasn't much of a direction other than Vince saw. So my understanding is that the pay-per-view was playing while we were wrestling. I believe it might have been the Lucha Dragons when we dropped the belts to them. Mm-hmm. I believe so. Or it might have been we're doing at that time Hideo and Finn. I can't remember which one it was. But I do know the story goes from everything that was told to me through good sources was that Vince was on the elevator riding up that day, and they were playing the pay-per-view on the TVs in the elevators. Vince saw us, and he saw us working, and the thing he said immediately was, I want them on the main roster. So I don't know that there was really a direction. I just knew that, Vince saw something he liked in that moment, and he was like, I want them here. Doesn't know. That's the writer's job. They got to figure that shit out. Even though at the end of the day, like, let's be honest, like, Vince makes the ultimate call,
Yeah.
So that was a story that I got, how we went to the main roster. So, when we got there, there was a lot of, okay, well, we're going to call you the Ascension. We're going to have you like be like, just being very disrespectful and, making fun of the old time wrestlers and stuff like that. And I was just like, oh, okay, cool. Like, whatever, we need you to have a couple sayings. I was like, welcome to the wasteland. Like, I was in a car with Vic writing down things. Like,
Yeah.
what are we going to say? What are we going to do? Because everything was thrown right on the spot. So I don't know if there really was much of a direction other than we were just going to sit there and, belittle all the icons and then get our asses kicked and then eventually hopefully go over on them. So I don't really consider that a direction, but I will say that it was a stepping tool to get us up to the main roster.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly that. And you did, and you done very well on that marathon. But what does the travel schedule change? Because obviously you're on NXT and you're
Yeah,
generally in, you might be doing here, there, and everywhere. When you get moved to WWE, and all of a sudden the itinerary just it must just change. Like all of a sudden you go from just doing maybe show here to you're here. How does that all
yeah,
change for you in terms of your days, your weeks, your months?
sure. Yeah, that's no one's even asked me that question before. So we were doing what's called down here, it's called the coconut loops, right? It's all the shows
Yep.
in Florida.
Yes.
So you would generally be doing 3 shows on top of TV, so they were prepping you and priming you to get used to doing 4 shows a week.
Yeah.
The difference is that you come home to your bed every night.
Yeah.
So you don't get that luxury when you're on the road. And obviously you think about it like this, like you're married, you got kids, there's going to be distance. There's going to create this gap, so
Mm.
you pretty much, your family ends up becoming the main roster.
Yeah.
Sadly, not everybody can balance that out. And that's a tough thing to do too. But I found it, for me, it was something I always wanted. So I was already mentally prepared for that.
Yeah.
But there are those moments like where I'm like, shit, like if I'm sick, like I want to go home.
Yeah.
The thing is, and the thing that I was taught was that people that buy the tickets, respectfully, they don't give a shit if you're sick. They paid for a ticket to watch you perform. And that's just the reality of it. And you have to know that. And I get it. I 100% get it, and it comes with doing this job. Like there's going to be, a lot of ups and there's going to be a lot of downs. You just got to take the bad with the good.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
for me, I mean, I adjusted pretty well. But it just, it will create distance in a relationship, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, it certainly does. The other question I wanted to ask about the travel and everything and how that implicates him is even so far as I know it sounds like a stupid question, but eating, right? Because you guys are guys, you got to keep conditioning, you got to keep, everything going. I know there's catering and you can eat there, but
Yep.
sometimes you got 3, 4 hour, 5 hour drive to the next town.
Yep.
How do you keep the quote unquote diet in check, so to speak?
Yeah. I mean, there, I mean, there was a point there where I just stopped giving a shit how I looked. I got up to about 340 pounds, and then Rowan got up to 360, and we always travel together. So we looked like, 2 pigs every time we got out. So we'd stop at McDonald's, eat everything we could eat. But there was a point there where I was just like, okay, enough's enough. Like it's time to start really tightening up and
Mm.
get myself right. So what I would do is, like, if I was in catering, and first off, catering is only usually on TV days. So
Yeah,
you don't really need to eat a lot of extra food because you're flying home the next day.
yeah,
Um, but like it was a lot of like gas station peanuts. If you went to, like, say if there was a McDonald's, you would get, quarter pounder, throw the buns out, eat the meat, Like there's just ways that you have to make it work. And every now and then you could go to like a sit down diner if you want, or, like a restaurant, but it's going to be, that accumulates over time. It becomes pretty pricey. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you'll try to figure out how to budget as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine that you do. A question on WWE before we finish up and move to TNA. What's the draft like to be a part of?
It's, I mean, it's nerve wracking. I'll tell you that, because when you're doing the draft, you're sitting there, you're trying to figure out, am I going to stay here on SmackDown, or am I going over to Raw? Raw at the time was 2 hours, where SmackDown was 3 hours. You get more airtime, possibly, or at least more work time if you went to SmackDown, but you always wanted to be at Raw. So it was just like, it was a battle. For me, I just sat in the chair and was just like, fuck it, wherever I gotta go, I gotta go. I'm gonna do the best for whatever brand I go to. But some people, they would stress because if they didn't know where they were going, um, they were nervous because you don't know. No one told you anything.
No.
So it was like a surprise as well. They wanted the natural reactions from you when you're sitting there and they're, the first round pick, boop, Roman Reigns. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they would do stuff like that.
Because you guys were, if I remember rightly, in the 2018, you were part of the Superstar Shakeup, which happened after the show. So did they not come? Was it just a case of you were looking on WWE.com to see what the situation was?
Oh yeah, no, I mean there was talks where they were going to put Vic on one brand, me on another brand. I mean, you just, I think and this is just me. I can't speak for everybody because I don't
Yeah.
worry about a lot of things. So, because you can't control that, you don't have
Yeah.
that power. So it's like, why am I going to put all this anxiety in myself if I can't, have a say in anything? So I'm like, for me, I was just like, I'll just go with the flow. Like however it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be. It's going to be fine no matter what.
Yeah. No, very, very true. And it was to a degree. And then you obviously, look, I think it was around the 8th of December 2019, it was announced that they'd come to terms with you were future endeavor, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not going to talk about that. Look, that happens and it happens, right? That is what it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Everyone
it
gets
is what
future
it is.
endeavored. It's part of the game for the
It's
most
part
part.
of the game, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's running exactly right. But anyway, you do some independent stuff. I think you was announced for the Wrestling Revolver show, if I remember rightly. Pancakes and Power Drivers, it was going to be called, I think.
Oh yeah, it got canceled.
Yeah, it
It was
did.
during the
Yeah,
pandemic.
yes, pandemic, exactly that.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So he was going to do that. But then in 2022, so we fast forward a bit of time.
Yep.
You're at TNA. Now, this is where, so from the podcast perspective, we started in 2023, so back end of it. I'll give you a bit of a thing about our relationship with TNA in terms of the UK. So when it first started, we didn't have it. And then it was massive over here in the UK. It was on a great television station. We had it week in, week out. Me and my co-host went to see a TNA show at Wembley Arena. Hogan and Bischoff were there at the time. They
Oh
brought down
wow.
the lockdown cage. And then the television deal ended over here, and I think the channel went defunct over here in the UK. And to this day, it's never been back on, as in on in the TV. We have to do it by TNA Plus now. But when we started the podcast in 2023, the one thing that we wanted to start watching was TNA because we'd heard some really good things. It was it kind of went like this, and it was edging its way back up. Scott Demore, everyone there, the job it was
Yeah,
doing.
yeah.
Yeah, and you got there on February. I think you lost to Josh Alexander, I think, one of the first times.
Yes, yep, yep. They brought me in there. They wanted to see, how well I meshed with the locker room and everything. And that was all Tommy Dreamer.
That was it.
So Dreamer was the one that brought me in, who I love to this fucking day, because he was the one that originally hired me back in Deep South under a WWE contract in '05 because he was in talent relations. So
Mm.
I've always had this connection with Tommy. He always says I'm one of his sons, but yeah, so I had, it was just a small little quick little thing that I did with Josh Alexander. And then before that, I had to do a 15-minute match with Eddie Edwards,
Okay.
which was awesome. I mean, he's hands down, he's pretty damn spectacular himself.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was how That went down as soon as I was done, I guess, with the aggression, everything. They really loved it. And I remember Tommy looking at me going, "You look like a WWE action figure right now." It's like, I don't know if does that mean I'm an overqualified for this position? Or like, what does that even mean? I don't even know.
I bet it's a good
Uh,
thing. I think that's a good thing. I'd like to think it is.
I
You
do
then
too.
joined. You then joined Violent by Design, and then it went to Design as well with Callahan, Young, and everyone else in there, which was
Yeah.
great. I loved that. I loved that group actually. I thought it was a really good group. But then we started February of last year. You kind of declared that was dead, and then you started, which I loved, and I clamored for it for so long, and then it finally happened. You had a feud of PCO,
Yes.
which
Oof.
was
Oof.
brilliant. Oh
Man,
mate.
we both lost some years off those matches. Oof. I would do it again and again, though.
Oh, I thought it was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. And obviously Steph Delander was involved as well, and Jordan Grace was involved in all of this at the same time. And then finally, I think it finished up with I think your last, I think if I'm right, the last match was you, Madman Fulton, and Delander, and it was PCO, Rhino, and Zaya Brookside.
Yes.
That was the last
Correct.
time you were there. But it was a great one. But look, TNA now. I mean, you were a part of this to where they are now, right? If you wasn't
Yep.
there, if you weren't a part of this, and everybody else that was working hard in those times between 2022 and 2024, it wouldn't get to where it is now. Does it still fill you with pride a little bit, even though you're not there, that you
Mhm.
were a part of something which has now led to TNA going on AMC?
Oh yeah, I am. I know pretty much that entire roster, and I know that when I first walked in there, in 22, like how a lot of people were either haven't been seen in a long time or have never been seen on primetime networks. So now they're getting that chance and that exposure. And it's another outlet for, obviously, individual talents or tag team talent. It's just another platform for them to showcase. Um, it just makes me think of like, I mean, Jordan Grace had already, she was already established, I thought, pretty
Mm.
well with or without TNA. Everyone at least kind of knew who she was when it came to the wrestling industry, and now we know exactly who she is, which is phenomenal, right? But Joe Hendry to me is a great example
Yeah.
of somebody you never heard of, really. And this is a guy that busted his ass. I mean, busted his ass day in and day out to try to figure out how to connect with the people. And Lord and behold, look at him now. And it's like, to me, he reminds me of like a Zack Ryder.
Mm.
Like they're the ones that really grab the bull by its horns and like really put the work in to get
Yeah.
to where they are. Like nothing was handed to them. Either one of those people actually,
No.
and Joe just, I mean, he busted his ass. And so it's really cool to kind of see him shining, living in his moments right now. Jordan, she's a phenom. We're going to see her for a long time. So
We are. We
he's a,
absolutely. I always say with Joe and Zach, you mentioned both of them, but the two guys that kind of got over organically. Zach was the
yeah,
internet before the internet was really a thing. Joe Hendry got over via his great theme songs and how he writes a song as well, right? That's
he's a
so
wonderful singer too, right?
yeah, he
Yeah.
is. He's like the English version of Dwayne Johnson, right? Because
Yeah.
when The Rock
That's
used to
a
sing,
good comparison. Yeah.
in a lot of ways, and people may laugh at that. I don't, the way that when Rock used to come out and do his
Yeah.
guitar sessions in the ring, and that Joe Hendry does the same thing,
Yeah.
right? It's
It's
just,
pure entertainment. It's so
he,
good.
and he actually in Scotland, I believe he lives on the same street as my co-host when he
Oh
used to live
wow.
in Scotland recently.
I should go egg him. Egg his place.
Definitely. So, two
That's
more
fun.
questions before we start to wrap up. What's it like being in a video game?
Surreal. So I have every video game that I've been in, right? And they're all
Mhm.
still packaged and I keep them
Yeah.
for my son.
Yes.
So they're only there now for my son, to be honest with you. But the first one they were in was 2015. I remember it,
Mhm.
and they wanted to show me. They were recording me, and when we are on the main roster, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like you're in your first video game. Tell me what this experience is like." And I sat there, I was like, "Oh, this is so cool." Okay, so I went into career mode, and when you go into career mode, it starts you at the NXT Performance Center. I didn't know this, so I did career mode just to kind of start it and just kind of like play with my entrance and everything. And the first thing that happens is Bill DeMott pops right up and he goes, "Hi, I'm Bill DeMott. I'm your head coach. Welcome to NXT." And I said, "Fuck this," and I turned it right off. I had been in the damn developmental system for so long. I was like, I'm not going back.
Gives you nightmares, right? Just thinking about it. The last one, I don't know if this is true, so you have to help me out. Was you in the WWE film Countdown?
No.
No?
Oh, no, not Countdown.
Or it was
What was the
originally known as
show where they
642?
would tease people or they would like trick them? I can't
Right.
remember what it's called.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, no
I thought you were
Countdown
in.
though. I mean, if I was, I didn't get any incentives on it. So
It mentions that you was uncredited, so I don't know whether that means you were in it or not. Maybe not. Okay. That was
yeah.
a bit I found out. Well, there we go. I was wrong. There we go. Scrap that note, throw that over the floor. There you go. Right. That's off. Right. Anyway, coaching and stuff. What are you up to nowadays?
Oh, thank you for asking. So this year, my goal is to get back on the streets, back in the ring and everything. So, I've got
Yeah.
some upcoming shows. I'm kind of really excited to kind of like, I want to punch him in because, 214, I'm doing Chinlock Wrestling. It's called Love
Yeah.
Hurts up in Canada. So I get
Mhm.
to finally start traveling again. I'm excited.
Good.
37's Lariato Pro, Shamrock Mania 26. That's for Gallows' company.
Yeah.
327 is 2PW. It's called the night of what's it? The night of reckoning, and that's going to be up in Pittsburgh. So I got there's a lot more, but I'm starting now
Mhm.
to take bookings again. I'm super excited. I'm now working with Total Aggression Pro, where
Mhm.
I'm now going to be a booker writer. I'm super excited about it. I want to get back into helping new talent, find the passion of becoming a professional wrestler, whatever it may be, even touching talent, current talent that maybe needs a little bit of, polishing to go to that next level, so that's all going to happen this year. And I'm so excited about it. Because I told you, we don't really need to get into it, but,
Mhm.
the past 2 years have been rough, which we
Yeah.
both kind of, I was completely shut down at that time. I was working with Jay Lethal and a gentleman by the name of David Mercury. We had a school called the Wrestling Lab.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I had to walk away from that because I just mentally couldn't be there for the students. And I had a big
Yeah.
meeting and I kind of talked to everybody there. But, we had produced over 70 talents there. So, it was something that's like super exciting. So I'm happy to be back on the market with, getting back in the ring. And more importantly, my mind works better than my body. So I can be there for these younger generations to help them, take that next level, that step into where they want to go.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, that's really, really good. And it's good to see you back. That's another thing. Because I've missed having Big Con on my screen. And
I'm
listen,
sorry, man.
no, it's
It'll
good.
happen soon, I
I hope
promise.
we, no, no, good. I hope that you are back and I hope that we can get to see you on television. Hey, listen, NWA, I know you guys we're very friendly with the guys over in NWA. There's a guy right here that would look very good in an NWA ring. By the way, I'm not talking about me either. I'm talking about the guy that's
Oh,
like
the guy that's got the face of radio on the other side of the screen.
exactly that. But yeah, Billy, look, he's right. He's ready and available. Get him on. Get him into that power station. I'd love to see Con there. Chris Page as well. I know you'll be watching this at CCP. There you
Hell
go.
yeah.
And of course, Chris Gladden, my promoter. I've got a contender here for the Turnbuckle Championship waiting to come in.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh,
Okay.
absolutely.
Put some Ascension in Ignite. But look, if anyone wants to reach out to you and book you, DM you on socials, how can they do it?
Yep. You can go to big underscore con one. You can DM me personally, or you can hit me up on my email, which is singleton SINGLETON 7988 at Yahoo. Reach out to me there. And I'll respond right away. I'm pretty good about that for the most part, unless I think you're a bit of a weirdo. I mean, obviously,
Fucking
we've
hell,
had.
you responded to me.
Oh, you seem all right to me, man.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. That's brilliant. But I just got to do a bit of promotion my side. I mentioned Ignite right there. February 15th, chapter 5, our first show of the year. And our Turnbuckle Championship will be on the line. Aluna will take on Chris Aries. They're finally one-on-one. Chris has been hounding me since he didn't lose the triple threat match. And as every heel does, he becomes a pain in your ass. So he's got his shot. He's got his wish, one-on-one. But the main event will be Taylor James versus Tommy Tanner versus Tommy Kyle for the Ignite Championship. There is 9 tickets left. So if you want to
Oh,
come,
wow.
hurry up.
Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you. That's right. It's good. Thank you. If you want to come, hurry up. 96 Eventbrite. Type in Ignite Wrestling. You will see chapter 5 there. Grab the tickets. Come and see us. But more importantly, come and see some of the best Brit wrestling talents have to offer. Con, it's been amazing talking to you. I can't thank you enough for taking up your time for the rest of the day. It's been brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on.
Adam, thank you for having me, man. Anytime in the future, let me know.
Oh, we'll definitely have you back. There's no doubt about that. We'll do that. But for Big Kon, I've been your host, Adam Cousins. You have been watching the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. And until next time, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and goodbye.